And action. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Faith and Folklore. I'm one of your hosts, Tobias Okerlund, here with my aunt, Auntie Katie.
Howdy.
Howdy. Today we're talking about. Last episode, we talked about the history of aliens, and this episode, we're going to be talking about the different views on what aliens could be and what they are not in the church. And then we'll talk about our theories, because I mean our opinions change like daily. So this is our theory today about what we
Yeah,
think
as of
aliens could be.
November 20th,
Yeah.
2023.
2023, this is what we think. So yeah, we can kind of jump into this. So the the two views that I think specifically, at least what I've seen in the church, are either um aliens are a being, creature, thing that is not like it's like its own physical like thing.
Entity of
Yeah,
sorts. Yeah.
entity of things.
Created being.
Yeah, a being created that is there. Uh and then the other view is they're demons, and like that's what they are. It's all just a demon. And then the other view is just that they don't exist at all. So we're gonna kind of talk about what we think, and yeah. So I guess we can kind of do this in like a way like, so what do you think? Like, do you think I guess what do you think specifically? Do you think that they are their own thing? Do you think that they're demons, or do you think that they don't exist?
Gosh, I feel like prior to actually caring, which happened
Yeah.
about 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
um, when we started to look into this, I had always kind of thought either they are something else. Because the universe is so big, in my mind, I was kind of like, I mean, if God can do anything, he's God. If he wanted to create another civilization of beings out there in
Mm,
some planet, in some other universe, like, why would I think he couldn't do that? So
yeah.
sure, yeah, maybe there's aliens out there. Did I think that,
Yeah.
like, little hairless green creatures?
Mm,
I guess God created some weird looking animals, so if he
yeah.
wanted to create people to or creatures to look like that, whatever, he could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I had kind of thought of it more that way, I would say, up until more recently, when I feel like through different um, ways, Bible study, podcasts that I've listened to, and then just us doing our own research over
Mhm.
the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and seeing more talk about aliens in the news, I started to kind of create this other narrative in my head about, like, what really is this? I think this
Yeah.
is bigger than I thought it was going to be. And I think that this is
Yeah.
going to pertain to the end times in a way that I hadn't ever anticipated. So I
Yeah.
started to kind of puzzle together a different view about it. And I
Mhm.
still feel like I'm pretty unsure if I feel like they're going to be more angelic or more demonic in nature, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not really too sure on that, where I stand
Yeah.
on that yet, but I guess what I have to personally, I feel like I'm leaning more towards, okay, these are a more spiritual form of being, not just like another human, not human, but like another non-human race that's just
Like
like
creature, actual physical
working
creature.
and having kids and, like,
Mm.
living a life similar
Yes.
parallel to us, but on a different planet. Like, I guess I'm going more away from that view personally.
Okay.
But what
Yeah.
about you? Where do you feel like you are finding yourself on this alien journey?
So I think I was kind of the same way when it was kind of just like, I mean, I don't know.
Mm,
Like, maybe aliens can exist, like God can literally do whatever he
right.
wants. And it was almost like hearing people like have that argument against it, when it's like,
Mhm.
Jesus came to save us is such a, like, it's such a weird, like, it's almost like me in a sense where it's like
Mhm.
God, like, came to save us, like we deserved it almost,
Mm,
like we,
okay.
like he came to save, like, us, and it's almost like, um like, why couldn't he have gone to save them also in a different place? Or why couldn't have this covered them also? But
Mhm.
also, that kinda goes into, uh, like, how s like, the word alien, all it means is a
Mm.
creature that isn't, like, in this universe.
Right, or
So
even
or
just
it
like in the
not yeah, it's not from, Earth, I guess.
yeah,
So then that makes angels aliens
right.
in that it just specifically in the word.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so
Right.
an alien I mean, angels didn't have to, like, God wasn't saving them from
Mhm,
sins. He wasn't saving them. So why would then aliens, like actual aliens, have to be saved, I guess? But that's just a theory that I've heard, like,
mhm,
against it. But so going to aliens being demons, I've this is specifically from the book of Enoch, where it talks about, the Watchers, the 7 sons of God, which I think were the Watchers. This is also from the book of this is Genesis 6, and then this is also the book of Enoch, which kind of, mix and tangle in my mind sometimes, but basically, there were these, um, heavenly bodies that came down
mhm,
and had sex with, human women,
mhm,
and then created the Nephilim, which were giants.
mhm,
And then those giants, like, had bestiality, and that's how you got, like, a lot of, like, crazy things like unicorns or whatever, and, like, all these, like, centaurs and, like,
mhm.
all of these crazy things.
Right, 'cause it was kind of like they also potentially could have been having sex with animals,
Yeah, exactly.
intermixing
R Bestiality.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the flood happened, and in I don't know if this is in Genesis or it's in the book of Enoch, but the the demons are specifically the, disembodied spirits of the Watchers, and that was, like, their
Mhm,
punishment was to be spirit and nothing else. Um And we see that demons can go into things, and we talked about this a little bit in our
mhm.
last episode
Yeah,
where it's they
yeah.
can go into things, but they can't create things. So
Yes.
then having, talking about aliens, it can't be demons unless these things were possessing these already created beings.
Yeah.
So these
Yes.
things would have had to have been already made for
Mhm,
them to be possessed by demons at all. But when we talk about specifically the gray aliens,
mhm,
a lot of the reports of abductions and stuff,
mhm,
they are the story goes that they, like, abduct them, they take them into the UFO, they strip them naked, and they, like, lay them out. And usually when something is possessed, it has a sexual desire for one, because that's
mhm,
what the demons want. They want sex, and
mhm,
then they also are, um, angry or just have extreme emotion, and it's, usually violent, but
mhm,
the
mhm.
gray aliens are described as almost drones,
Yeah,
like, just and that's when people
emotionless
yeah,
almost.
emotionless and, like, no desires really. And very robotic and, like, not mechanical, but just, like, drone-like they are listening to something else tell them what to do.
Yeah. Yes.
So, them being possessed by demons doesn't really make sense to me
Mhm.
because of how that, um, how they act and how the reports of them act. But that kind of goes into the gray aliens specifically weren't necessarily they weren't talked about like they were talked about a long time ago, but they weren't as old as some of the other things, like the flying objects that we talked about seen in different parts of
Mhm.
the world.
Right.
Um, so a lot of researchers think, specifically, I'm talking about a guy named Tim Alberino, who um this is a lot of his ideas on aliens, and he just does a lot of, I mean, he's just a studier of them, I
Mhm.
guess. So this is just a lot of what he has to say, and then just a couple other people, but specifically gray aliens, like the actual like gray aliens, like the classic like movie like Alien. Um,
Hairless, kinda
yeah, just kind
weird
of
skinned
yeah,
robot
yeah,
style
yeah.
almost.
Those weren't like seen until uh when did he say? I think it was like 1,000 years ago or something. So
Mhm.
still old, but not crazy old. Like these stories. So he said that he thinks that they were they were created for a purpose to do something by something else, some other aliens. And there's a lot of there's a lot of different uh like alien things. One of them, what was it? Insect insectilings. Insectilings, which is kind of like a spider kind of alien that
Okay.
it uh it look like it has the head of like it kind of looks like a parking meter. The head looks like a parking meter kind of,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
very like I mean insectiling, like it looks like an insect kind of.
Right, kinda
Um
mimics.
yeah, and like long stringy, like not stringy, but like long and like stick like.
Okay.
Um, so that's like, and it's crazy because there's like a lot of different like
Mhm.
aliens. I mean, this kind of just made me like go off into a tangent, but this is kind of
Yeah,
going back to what I think,
right.
this kind of makes the most sense to me. Oh, that's funny. This is just, this completely sidetracked, but this is Genesis 5, and it just is up here. It says, uh, in the days of Enoch. Which
Mm,
is funny.
yeah,
Which is just the book of Enoch, but
book
he was Noah's dad, right?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's what it was.
so, and
Um,
for those of, you who don't know exactly, the Book of Enoch,
oh, yeah, yeah.
was something that was considered biblical text. I'm not sure, exactly what year it was taken out,
Yeah,
what year they, excluded
yeah,
it
it took it
from
out,
both
excluded
formal
it.
canon and the Torah,
Yeah,
um, I don't know the year of that, but it's a I can't remember exactly what they're called, but there is a group of texts that aren't biblical texts, but they're historical texts. So you have like the Dead Sea Scrolls, you have the Book of Enoch, you have a Sumerian text, you have these
yeah,
different
there's a couple different things that were referenced in the Bible.
historical,
Yeah,
uh, like encyclopedias, I guess you could say, of
yeah,
the time, but that weren't inspired, that have been decided that they weren't
yeah.
inspired scripture.
Some think they might not have been specifically inspired by, uh, Jesus or no, God. But yeah, in Jude and in um I think Jude and Paul reference is the book of Enoch. So that it it's for some people that say like the book of Enoch like is pointless, like these
Mhm.
people like took it as
Yeah.
like s
Historical.
good yeah, good enough for them to, like,
Mhm.
quote it. And it
Yeah.
was held very highly with them.
Mhm.
If they had, like if they were like, "Let's put this in my book,"
Yeah.
like, then they were probably thinking like,
They were
"Okay, this is
reading it,
pretty
they
good."
knew it.
Yeah,
They
and yeah, it was actually considered in that time to be, like,
Mhm.
correct.
Mhm.
So, some people say that the Book of Enoch isn't, but I
Mm.
would disagree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of shows my view, and that was probably really messy, but that's kind of what I think. I don't think that they could be demons,
Mm. Yeah.
um, just because of how they act. They could
Yeah.
be possessed by demons, because I mean, demons can possess pigs, they can possess, like, anything they want, but they can't create anything.
Mhm.
They can only distort. So, yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's really that, like, brings up a lot of points I hadn't really ever thought about, like, anytime you read about a demonic possession, the person is not having a good time. They can't control
Yeah,
their body, they're
yeah,
sick, they can't talk, or they when
yeah,
they do talk, they, you know, have really crazy voices, and aliens aren't usually described as even being vocal.
yeah,
Those gray aliens, like what you're saying,
yeah,
communicate maybe telepathically, but no one says like, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
we, like, opened our mouths and chatted." It's usually like, somehow they just knew what I was thinking,
yeah,
not like,
and
"Wah!"
yeah, and a lot of the times, like, especially I mean, with demons, I feel like demons are always there's always something scary, and a lot of the times, maybe there's not. They
Right,
sometimes try and be
hide that or
yeah, like, I see a lot with possessions, they possess children because
mm,
they're trustworthy in a
mhm,
sense, and they make you feel safe, but with the, gray aliens, people were always scared of them,
mhm,
and then something in their mind told them not to be scared, which
mhm,
would be like, the, uh, telepathicness.
mhm. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, we could go on and on
Oh
about
my gosh.
so
I mean,
many different things, but
yeah, we could go down, like, rabbit holes and never surface back
yeah,
up again, and there
yeah.
are people who, like, do that, and they're really interesting to listen to, but you're just
Yeah,
like, "Whoa."
yeah, especially this
That's
like, the first time that I listened because this is on guys, I'm about to plug a podcast that you need to listen to. It's called Blurry Creatures.
Yep.
Um,
Ding.
we're
Mhm.
hoping to get them on actually.
Yeah.
But they talk about basically, they do what we do, but we do it better. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Uh, they are 2 Christian dudes that talk
Yeah.
about, like, all sorts of, all sorts of stuff. Specifically, they talk about they a lot of the time, they talk about giants. That's what a
Mhm,
lot of their episodes are on. They
mhm,
talk about giants and how, um a lot of times in the church, people don't even talk about giants and all
mhm,
just all excuse me, all of this stuff that
mhm.
the church kinda doesn't talk about. They started
Yeah,
at Bigfoot and then they worked their way up. But yeah, so you guys should go listen to this. But this guy,
yeah.
Tim Alberino, the first time that I listened to him, he just had such a crazy view. Like, he thinks that the world, like, where the Bible, like, talks about, there was actually, like, 1,000 years before that, and there was, like, a
Mhm,
war on Mars. Like,
mhm.
that's something that he, like, says, and I'm like, "That's crazy," but then, like, I took, like, a break from it, and then I went back to it, and I was like, "This doesn't sound that crazy." Like,
Yeah,
it's crazy, like, it's crazy, but then it's like, it doesn't not make sense. It's just
right.
hard to wrap my brain
Yeah,
around.
yeah, especially the first time you hear something,
Yeah.
um, taking the information, processing it, and then being like, "Okay, could my brain, like, expand enough
Yeah,
to adopt this as thought
yeah,
or
yeah,
not?"
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, like, just it's hard having an open mind sometimes about,
Mhm,
like, especially this stuff, because I mean, I feel like we've talked about this before, but, like, I even was, like, with demons and stuff, I was like, "Demons aren't real," because of all the stuff I see in, like, Hollywood and stuff, and
mhm,
then but it's like demons are in the Bible, and it's
Right.
like all this stuff is in the Bible, and it's like, if I'm gonna believe that, like, God sent his son to die on the cross and he rose again, like, he rose from the dead, then maybe I can, like, take
Yeah.
a look at some other stuff. It's like
Yes. Yeah, it's so
yeah,
true, and, like, let yourself be vulnerable
yeah,
to, like, look into something like an
yeah,
alien.
and be wrong,
Mhm.
like, a lot of the time, it's like it's like
Mhm.
the fear of being wrong almost. It's like, am I
Yeah.
gonna change my whole, like, worldview just to have to, like,
Right.
change it back almost? But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. Now that's kind of what I think. I think that aliens I don't know what they are,
Mhm.
and I don't know how many, like, species. Because this dude says that there's, like, 10,000 species of different aliens. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff, and I don't know anything about that really. I only know a little bit, but I think that there I think that there is some sort of alien thing. It
Mhm.
sounds crazy to say, like, I
I
think
know,
that there's
like,
aliens, but it's like, I mean, I think that there's aliens. I
yeah.
do.
There we go, folks, you have
There
it.
we go, I said it.
You said it, it came out.
Yeah.
He is a believer.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Because you kinda said,
Well,
but
yeah, I feel like a couple months ago, kind of as the alien topic started to come up on the news more often, and I started to think like, okay, most likely, the people coming forward, the high-ranking army officers and pilots and people who, are like, they say risking their careers and their this and that to come out and say this because, people are weird about people who believe in aliens.
yeah.
Um, why would they be willing to do that? And so I feel like there has to be some kind of behind the scene narrative happening. Maybe I sound like a conspiracy theorist or something, but like if something's going to be put out into the public, they don't just wake up one morning and decide like, you know what, today let's tell people there's aliens. Like
Yeah.
there's got to be backstory, even just for this podcast that we don't have a ton of listeners yet for. We
Mhm.
have backstory of why we do things and why we don't. So, of course, a
Yeah.
worldwide news source is gonna have things that they're trying to kind of manipulate maybe behind the scenes. So,
Yeah.
I started to think like, well, what is that? Where are we going with this? And is
Yeah.
this something that the devil is using um, to confuse people
Yeah,
more,
to confuse, distract.
to
Yeah.
distract people? Um,
Even just bring more conflict with people,
mhm. Yes.
especially in the church, because that's what he wants. He just wants the church
Yeah.
to be arguing so he
Perception
can
and
yeah,
distraction and to separate people because you're gonna have
yeah.
the side that's alien and the side that isn't, and this, so I started to get this idea in my head. It feels weird admitting this on YouTube, but to the masses. But this idea popped in my head that was like, when the rapture happens and you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are here one minute and gone the next.
Mhm.
The devil, in essence, is gonna have to have somehow to explain that.
Yeah,
And so prior to aliens, how do millions of people disappear?
that's true.
And so I started to think, I bet that the news is going to blame that on a massive scale alien abduction.
Yeah,
Because you're gonna have, I mean, if you believe in the rapture, when you think about, like, the nitty-gritty of it, you're gonna have people, um you're gonna have a doctor in the middle of a life-altering heart surgery that is gone.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the person potentially on the table getting the heart surgery that's gone. And maybe the body, it depends on your view. Are the bodies still there and everyone just, all of a sudden he's, like, cutting and then he just, like, flops down on the table? Is it his body that's going, or is it just
Yeah.
his soul that's going? But either
Yeah.
way, like, it's gonna cause chaos. People are gonna be driving down the freeway, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
something happens, kids are gonna disappear, all this stuff. So, how do you explain that away without admitting that the Bible is true?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have an alternative, and so
Yeah.
alien abduction seems like a pretty dang good one to point to if
It's a
that
good
is
yeah, it'd
starting
be
to,
a good
like, creep up in as normal for more of society to wrap its head around.
yeah, that's
So
true.
that kind of popped in my head, and then, the Bible study that we're doing this month in church is about just weird, I think it's literally called, like, weird stuff in the Bible or something like that. So, it's been getting into the Nephilim, the sons of God, just a lot of, like, the weird stuff so far just in the Old Testament. So even that we were kind of, like, digging into, like, okay,
Yeah.
what are the aliens? Are they fallen angels? Are they another thing entirely? So, like I
Yeah.
kind of said, like, I still am not 100% sure, I guess,
Mhm.
on what I imagine that the beings themselves are.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's two, like, kind of like points of view that make a little bit of sense to me. So one of them is that, and again, it just kind of more pertains to, like, the end times because that's what I've been thinking about. But is that the al the yeah, the aliens, I guess, are, um more in, what's the word? Like, in cohorts or whatever, more in
Cahoots?
cahoots, thank you. Yeah, cahoots. They're more in cahoots with the devil,
Mm,
and they are kinda going back to, like, what we were talking about, like, the Book of Enoch and that, like, race, in sorts that were the sons of God, but I don't picture them as, like, these green beings.
yeah,
I think I would picture them more as, like, whatever the sons of God looked like, which
yeah, which would probably look a lot like us, I guess, in a sense, because 'cause
yeah,
we're made in his image,
in his
so
image,
yeah,
exactly. So they're gonna have some sort of resemblance to us, and, um, the what am I trying to say? I have so many thoughts going through my head. Um, so they would be more human-esque or
yeah.
angelic-esque in a way.
They would be giants, really. They'd
Yes.
be, at least if we're going for, like, I because they had sex with humans and that's what made giants, then
Mhm.
they were probably some sort of giant-like creature
Creature,
that
yes,
looked like us, though, because
right.
giants, they didn't not look like us.
Mhm.
They were just really big.
Giant versions of,
They were just
they would
giant.
have big heads, but they'd also have big hands and big every
Mm,
body
yeah,
part.
yeah,
Mm, and how that, will pertain, I guess, to the end times is that, like, either they really have been here all along and they are interworking with all sorts of different, um,
yeah,
things happening in the world. I don't wanna just say the word government, but, like, they're behind the scenes, I guess I would say,
mhm,
on a lot of things going on, and then
yeah,
when God does come back, the the message that will have been delivered to the world is that, like, because you're already kind of hearing it in the news. You're hearing people say, like, "Oh, yeah, the alien, they've been here all along. They're among us.
yeah,
They are behind the scenes, helping us make decisions." And I've even heard something, like, put out there that, like, says something like the aliens will be the one in the end that save us from ourselves. Like,
Yeah, I
humans are
guess,
gonna
yeah.
destroy the world
That's something that I've heard is that, like,
and
I mean, I've heard a crazy thing where it's like they're gonna uh like astro project aliens, and that's how they're gonna like explain like what's going on with like the rapture and stuff. Like just
right.
like crazy things like that. That don't really sound that crazy really, but it's
Yeah, but it's
like
like a dead
if
person
you're here like listening to this guys, like you probably, I mean, you have to at least like
be
know that.
somewhat interested in this
Yeah.
style of
Yeah.
stuff. Or it's like you're, my mom and his grandma, and you're just listening because you love us, but
Yeah.
otherwise, you
Hi
have
grandma.
yeah, "Hey, grandma." You have some sort of interest or, like, pre-knowledge of this
Yeah.
type of stuff.
And realize that it's gonna sound crazy even if it's
Right.
true.
Yes, exactly. So it's like they're either evil, I guess I'll say, in some sort of nature, and I just mean evil in the sense of, like, they're gonna be the message that's gonna be put out there is that, like, "Oh, here comes God with his army of angels." That's bad. We have
Mhm.
all these angels here or these aliens here on Earth who are going to save the world from this army coming down, and then
Yeah.
it's gonna be this, like, conflict that way. That's
Okay.
one view that I've
Interesting.
heard.
Yeah.
The other, like, complete opposite view of that is that, um, angels themselves, which are real and are physical
Mhm.
and are around. Not
Yeah.
that they can, like, zap and turn into what other kind of like, form that they wanna be in, but
Mm.
they people perceive them in, different ways or whatever, and have to describe them in like, when you see something that you have never seen before and you're trying to describe it, you're probably gonna just describe it in ways that speak to you at that time or what
Yeah. Yeah.
culture, and so I guess what I'm trying to say is that in a way, like you said in the very beginning of this episode, like the definition of an alien or like the definition of an extraterrestrial just literally means it's either not from your nation or it's not from your planet.
Yeah.
So in theory, an angel, like you said, is an extraterrestrial. It's
Yeah.
not from our planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that literally in the very definition of it describes it as an alien
Yeah.
or an
Yeah.
extraterrestrial.
And like, yeah, maybe people even think what they're seeing is just it's actually just angels, or
Mm.
I mean, like, yeah. It's
Especially, like, if you're not a Christian, I guess, and you're seeing something and you're trying to, like, explain it away,
yeah.
you're gonna use different, like, descriptive terminology than you would if you were like, "I'm a Christian and I saw something and it felt more angelic," or something like that. I
Mm.
don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but, like, the only other, like, kind of interesting thing that I feel like I learned over not the only thing, but just the only thing other that I'll mention that I learned, from also listening to Blurry Creatures, shout out again. They were interviewing a guy, what episode is it? It's episode number,
Oh, yeah, I should see what episode mine was.
um, doo doo doo, 199, Angels and Gods with Ali C. It just went away. It's going slowly again. Angels and Gods with Ali Sia Dotton. Um, he is a Christian guy who's been, um, kinda diving into the world of angels, gods, and
Mhm.
UFOs since, like, the '90s, and
Okay.
he had a UFO encounter in the, in Iran in the desert, and
Oh, I might have heard this actually.
um, he had already kind of started going down that path, and then had the encounter and was like, "Okay, now I really have to, like, get this figured out, like,
Yeah,
what did I see, and how can the Bible help me, like, explain what I saw? Like, what
yeah,
was it?" And he turned to the Bible and other scripture text and such. Um, so that's where some of these ideas were kinda coming together, but he talked a lot about in that episode, he talks a lot about, like, the even just the word that when we say like, "Oh," there's references in the Bible to, like, chariots, like, "Oh, he went up in a chariot of fire," or God will somewhere, I can't remember what the verse is, but it talks about that God has, like, thousands upon thousands of chariots in essence. And so in our head, what we picture when we hear the word chariot is like a wooden structure of
yeah.
sorts that has to be pulled by an animal. Um, but really, the Hebrew word, what it translates to is a carrier, something that can carry you from one point to another.
Okay. Yeah,
Um, it's called like rakiv or something along those lines, the Hebrew word.
yeah,
But it literally it could mean any form of something.
yeah.
Very
I've heard. Yeah,
significant.
I've heard that because it's like people talk. I mean, we even talked about the like sightings of UFOs,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
just means unidentified object, which
Right,
could literally just be like
mhm.
angels in a sense, like just riding around in these like
Right. Helping
carriages
to get from
of
point A to point
yeah,
B.
yeah,
And it really wasn't until, like, I mean, obviously, there is some description of angels with wings in the Book of Revelations, but it's a very specific type of angel. And then
yeah,
nowhere else in the Bible are angels really ever
yeah.
described with having wings. That was something that was adopted, um,
Probably
because,
through a lot of like
like
paintings,
yes,
like
exactly, yeah, it was like a
yeah,
Roman, it was inspired by the little, like, Roman,
cherub.
cherubs. They were called Nikes, and they
Oh,
help
like the
bring
god.
the
Okay, yeah.
soul of the dead, like, from the when somebody died, they brought their soul from earth to the next place that their soul would have gone to. And
Okay.
so the, artists were like, "Oh, okay, well, that's how we can paint angels. We can paint them with wings, like these little Nike
Interesting.
people." Um, so again, it just goes back to, like, nowadays we have YouTube, we have TV, we have CNN, and we have whatever, Netflix.
Yeah.
But back then, their form of media was paintings, and so it was however things are being, like, put out
Shown.
to the
Yeah.
masses and shown, and then that's how people are gonna form their opinions of them. So it's like
It's almost like the artists can like choose whatever they
yes,
want and then like
and then from there on out, that's what people
that's
imagine.
what people yeah, yeah, that's so true. Wow.
So it's just my mind's been opened up, I feel like, so much, 'cause obviously, when I thought of an angel, I think like, "Oh, yeah, he has big white bird wings." Like,
Yeah.
why is
Yeah.
that more normal than an angel being up in heaven and being like, "I gotta get down to earth. I'm gonna hop in my
Yeah.
chariot," which could
Yeah.
be a flying saucer, "and I
Yeah.
gotta get down to earth, or
Yeah.
up to earth, or over to earth, or
Yeah,
whatever."
it's interesting what we'll call, like what we'll say is like, "Oh, that's normal," I
Mhm,
guess, in a sense to
mhm.
believe in, then
Yeah,
it's like, "Oh, yeah, it's completely normal to believe in a creature made by the creator that,
yeah,
like, comes down and, like, does, like, his work," but it's
mhm,
not normal to, like, think of a creature created by his creator, like, flying around in, like, an object.
in an
It's
object.
so
It
yeah,
is
it's
yeah,
super
it's
funny and some interesting sometimes.
very odd,
Yeah.
and I don't know what's right or wrong, but
Yeah.
I do feel like so much of what we do on Earth is inspired by something,
Yeah.
and so if aliens have been using, some form of, mechanical object of sorts to get around, then it would make sense that humans would eventually create a mechanical object that also gets us around, cars,
Yeah.
planes,
Yeah. Yeah.
things of that nature. But yeah, so I don't know if that really even answers the question necessarily with what I believe aliens to be. I feel like I'm still kind of developing that opinion, but
Yeah.
I do believe that there is something that is unexplained, and whether that's an angel, whether that's a more of like a, I guess what you could describe as like a fallen angel, not a demon, but um, something that God created for sure that's out there doing something.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's something, doing
There's
something.
something doing something out there
Yeah.
somewhere, and
It's
that to me
yeah.
is what an alien is.
Yeah, it's super interesting to think about, and, like, especially I mean, like, with the like, just with the, like, the idea of angels having wings, where
Mhm,
it's like even like, I don't remember where it is in Revelation, but there's a creature described,
mhm.
like, that's
Yes,
an angel with, like, the 5 or something heads,
yes,
where
yeah,
it's like a goat and a thing, but that this is something the Team Alberino guy said, that's something to with the time,
mhm,
it was people would have known
mhm,
that it could have been describing to them because they used, like, astrology,
mhm.
not like, just the astrology in the sense of, like, telling the seasons and times,
Yeah, yes.
and the heads were, like, correlated to, like,
Mhm.
this time and that time with, like, the head of the goat. I don't know, you probably know, like,
Right, okay, yeah, yeah, like the
there's
zodiac
certain
signs
there's certain animals. Yeah, there's certain
almost.
animals. What were the animals?
Um,
Do you know?
would it be like a ram,
Yeah. It was the
uh,
head of a ram.
and not a goat, but like a, yeah, the ram with the, like, swirly
Yeah, horns, yeah.
things.
Yeah, but it was just interesting because it's like people sometimes take that and, like, say that that's what angels look like, and
Mm,
maybe it is, but that was a way for them to know, like, the times and the signs and
yeah,
s or not the time well, like, yeah, the seasons, I guess, and they
mhm,
would have known that because
yeah.
in their time, that's what they used.
Yeah. I don't know if I said this in our Halloween episode or if I said it and it was in one of the episodes we recorded and then deleted, but,
Mhm.
like, I heard recently the saying that the Bible wasn't written to us, it was written for us,
Yeah,
and that makes sense to that point. Like, the Bible was written to a group of people
yeah,
thousands of years ago. Is it still 100% applicable to us in this
yeah,
time? Absolutely, it's for us, but we have to look at it through the lens of
that
the
time period.
ancients,
Yeah.
not through the lens of a person in
Yeah,
2023.
you can't look at it through, like, our perspective because like, you read some of this stuff and you're like, "What?" But it
Yeah,
makes complete sense in that time period,
yeah,
and I think a lot of people will be like, "Yo, this is crazy," like, "Bruh," like, that but
mm,
that's because 'cause they're looking at it through
yeah,
not through it being written in
yeah, multiple languages.
yeah, like, a long, long time ago for a very specific group of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, some of the descriptions of the angels in Revelations, they have, like, eyes on their
Yeah,
wings and
like, hundreds of eyes,
yes, and
and
they're,
it's
like,
like yeah,
straight and or they're, like, full of electricity, they're not even like
yeah,
a material thing, they're like some kind of energy and
yeah. Yeah,
light.
and then, like, in I don't remember where, but in I think it was in Sodom in somewhere in Sodom and Gomorrah, I don't remember where that is,
Mhm.
where, like, what
And
what
which,
book that
book
happens
in the
in.
Bible, you mean?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there was an angel that showed up to, what is what was his name? His wife turned into salt.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, Lot.
Yeah.
Lot, there was an, angel that showed up to Saul, and he was described as having, like, fine skin, so, like, white skin and, like, blonde hair or something like that,
Mhm.
and, um, I mean, it was just another, weird,
Mhm.
description, not weird description, but just, like, a description of an angel that, like,
Mhm.
completely contradicts, like, this other description of an not
Right.
contradicts, but it's like, okay, like,
Yeah,
which
there's
one is
obviously
right?
multiple, like, races, or I don't really
Yeah,
know.
races of angels, I
Yeah,
guess. There's,
they're
like
all angelic, they're
yeah,
angels, but
whi
they're
which kinda talks about this episode's kinda long, but it's not necessarily ranty, I guess, but
yeah.
it kinda ta that
Okay.
guy Tim Alberino talks about how, um, in heaven, there's a cherub, but
Mhm.
a cherub is a specific it's a title
Yep.
of an angel,
Okay.
and then there's a cherub and there's,
Like a messenger.
yeah, there's a messenger angel, and these are, like, different, um, titles of angels, and then it would make them, um, like, different, classes of angels and
Mhm.
stuff. But, yeah,
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
like, guys, this is just, it's just a view. It's
Yeah.
not we're not experts, and we're not claiming that this is,
Mhm.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
Fact, and we know what we're
Yeah,
talking about because we
yeah,
obviously don't.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
we're kind of taking what other people would say is fact, and
yeah. Just giving it to you.
yeah.
'Cause just letting you, hear it, and just remember to keep an open mind, and
Mhm.
with any of this stuff, um, it can be a lot to
Yeah,
hear
for
for
sure.
anybody,
Yeah.
but, I mean, just remember that, the most important thing is that Jesus sent his son to die for us to save us from our sins. Like,
Mhm.
that's the point of, anything in this book. That's, the whole point of this book.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
We can get all lost in the
yeah, you can get
meaning.
lost in Genesis when they're talking about the Nephilim and,
Yeah, impregnating
three-headed
humans and
creatures, yeah, but, really, none of it it matters in a sense, but
mm,
the only thing that matters is Jesus and
mhm.
what he did on the cross for us. So,
Yeah,
just
very good point.
remember that, yeah, remember that anytime you hear something like
That just really throws you off your
yeah, yeah, because that's kind of what it did to me. It was like, now I have to fit all of this stuff
Mhm.
into my theology, but really, you don't have to, like, if it is right, it'll probably fit in. Like, you won't
Yeah.
have to do that crazy amount of thinking to
Mhm.
really be like, "Okay," like, even with stuff like the Big Bang and stuff like that, like, when people talk about the Big Bang, you could either you can say, world is, thousands of years I mean,
Mhm.
millions of years old, or you could say it's 1,000 years old, and it doesn't change what the
Right.
Bible says at all. Like,
Mhm.
it talking about a Big Bang, it you could easily say God said, "Let there be light,"
And
and
it
that's
created
what
a
that
very
light is,
different
yeah,
way.
a
Yeah.
Big Bang, which is, light, so it's like, with any of this stuff, the only thing that matters is Jesus,
Mhm.
because all the devil wants is, how we said,
Yeah.
for us to just be butting heads and talking about, this stupid stuff that doesn't matter,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
aliens.
Like it. Uh, thanks for listening to 50
Yeah,
minutes
yeah, 50
of
minutes, oh my god.
alien talk. But
Yeah,
no,
this
it's
is a
true. It's
long
like
one, yeah.
it's important to know that you can talk about it,
Yeah, and I
and you're
think
not, like,
yeah,
sinning because you're like,
yeah,
"Wait, can I think about aliens? Like, is
yeah,
that allowed?" But it also
exactly.
isn't going to get you to heaven.
Yeah, and it's not gonna take you away from heaven,
Mhm.
and I think that's what we wanted to do with this podcast, period, is just be like, you can think about this stuff, and
Mhm.
it's like, it's okay. It's okay
Yes.
to,
Yeah.
like, think about, like, it's not a sin to think about, like, old Greek mythology or anything like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Like,
to
if
read
you
the text and
Yeah,
to
exactly, to, like, explore it and, like, think about this stuff. 'Cause I know that a lot of people, whenever they hear, like, anything about, like, astrology, they
Mhm,
completely shut off, but you enjoy it.
mhm.
But
Thank you.
maybe not to, like, the same extreme as,
Fair.
like
Yeah, I'm not
crazy
gonna,
people.
not date you because you're a certain sign,
Yeah,
although
exactly. Also,
sometimes
she's married, she won't be doing any
yeah,
of
yeah, I
that.
won't be dating anyone. Yeah, by the I'm married, sorry.
But
But I
yeah,
didn't
it
choose
just
my husband based
Yeah,
on the fact that he's
yeah,
a Virgo. Now, is it, like,
exactly.
a weird coincidence that Taurus and Virgo are, like, a very compatible sign?
Yeah,
It's a weird coincidence,
yeah,
but
but there's
I wouldn't be
coincidences.
like, "Oh, sorry. Oh, you're that? Oh, no,
Yeah,
I can't."
that's when I am, like, so, like,
Yeah,
"Wow."
like, "Oh,
Like,
okay,
yeah,
that's
but
taking it a
it's
little
like
far maybe," but
yeah, it's just a lot of it's jeez. That's all we wanted to do with this podcast is just kind of open the door a crack to people who might like think that the door is locked, I guess. Or
yeah,
just like are kind of not looking at the door just
yes.
because they think
They're
they're not
like,
allowed in.
"No, don't over there." Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to say create a safe space because I feel like that's, like
Yeah. With safe space, safe
but it
space.
is. This is a safe space
Yeah.
to
It really
bring
is.
out some of these topics that,
And
like
ask questions,
yeah.
because your questions will then maybe we'll be able to answer them, and maybe they'll bring up more questions in our mind that we can then research
Mhm.
and get answers for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also do your own research because we could be completely wrong, so
Yeah, we could just be really leading you down the wrong path.
yeah.
But I mean, end of day, like, just, go back to your Bibles and open it up
Yeah,
and, like, read for yourself what Genesis has to say, and
exactly. And the Book of Enoch. Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's it's just
it's really interesting.
yeah, it really is. But yeah, guys, thank you for listening to this episode.
So
It was a
2,
long one.
it
Yeah,
was.
episode 2 of the aliens, or 2, yeah, 2.
Mhm.
Um,
We have a alien related movie watch. What are we
yes.
calling that? The
I don't know.
separate but also interconnected,
Yeah,
um, kinda new and exciting thing that we will be posting where you get to watch Toby and I, um,
get scared
get watch a
sometimes.
movie in a related subject
Yeah,
to whatever the month's podcast theme is gonna
yeah,
be about. So,
yeah,
we watched an alien-related movie that we'll be posting, and, depending on how much time we have over the next week, it is the holidays, we might have some sort of other little finishing up episode on this, or we
yeah,
might not, and we'll just get into the next month of Christmas, and we're, like, beyond excited about those episodes, breaking
yeah,
down, that holiday and
yeah,
all the different wild stuff that's
yeah,
intermixed into that holiday,
yeah.
so,
So, yeah, stay
um,
tuned, guys.
ding.
And thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out,
Bye.
guys.
Wait, what's that, like, alien? Is it
Oh,
that?
yeah. Is it this?
Or this?
Or is it this?
I don't know.
Something like
Something
this.
something
Yeah,
like
there we go.
Ooh.
Woo!